To what extent do you think that this is exacerbated by the fact that we've stayed with the boundaries that we had at Federation? They deliberately, for example, in relation to a new state of New England, when that referendum was put, they deliberately arranged to include what was never considered to be part of New England, that is Newcastle, a strong Labour part of the country at that time, and still probably now. And they, of course, voted no against in relation to having a separate state in New England. And the same things happening in similar things happening in Queensland. Even before Federation, there was a strong move to divide Queensland into 2 or 3 states. If you have everything concentrated in a state capital, does that exacerbate the housing problem and make people move to those capitals?
Absolutely. So Australia's become more and more centralised. We have a higher proportion of people living in the major capitals than ever. And I'd argue that the immigration program is actually making that worse, because migrants overwhelmingly come to the major capitals. It's actually the locally born population, the share of the population that's locally born that lives in regional areas is far higher than foreign born, whereas the ratios swing around the other way when it comes to the major capitals. So the longer we keep running this extreme immigration policy, we're going to have, people from China, India, etc., who are going to live in the major capitals with their diaspora, which means that we're going to have this increased concentration. And that's actually borne out in the data. I mean, I'll use my home state of Victoria, or Melbourne, my home capital city. And at the turn of the century, we had 3.5 million people in Melbourne. It took us 170 years to get there. And yet the official projections from the Victorian government are to go to 9 million people by 2056. So that's an increase of 5.5 million people in just 56 years. And to get that, the state government wants to shoehorn an extra 2 million people in 2 million homes into existing urban footprints, which basically means we're going to have, massive densification, which means apartment blocks, high-rise towers, etc., which is completely non-compatible with the traditional family, because families living in high-rise apartments, especially small ones, which is predominantly what gets built, is a contradiction in terms.